In this video you will see how to create this amazing Excel dashboard in 3 simple steps. You don't need any advanced Excel knowledge to complete this. You will just need Excel installed and that's it. The first step will include a quick overview of our dashboard, a brief data investigation and creating pivot tables. After completing this step, we can start working on our dashboard structure, creating a background, adding titles and shapes. The last and the most important step will be to add charts to our dashboard, so let's get started. Okay, in front of us we can see our dashboard. Basically this dashboard contains data related to sales. Over on the left hand side you can see 2 tables. First table contains sales data for each of these states, and second table contains also sales related to each of these regions. Next we have one donut chart. Basically on this chart we are able to see sales by category. Also we have 2 pie charts, sales by region and sales by ship mode. Perfect. Right down below we have also one bar chart and one line chart. On this first one we can see sales for each of these products. And this second chart is presenting top 10 customers. Okay, perfect. We also have some KPIs on top and also we have 2 slicers. If we click on any of these, we will be able to filter our dashboard. Now with that being said, let's proceed to next step. Next we will go to data source and we will quickly analyze our data. So let's click on this data source tab and let's check our data. So as you can see here, we have this order ID column. So basically we have one order and then we have customer ID, customer name and also data related to location. Also we have data related to product and also we have here sales value, quantity, discount and profit. Now that we understand our data, let's proceed to next step. Next step is to create pivot tables. So let's see how can we do that. I'm gonna go to this pivot sheet and here we will be able to see different pivot tables. We will be creating the same pivot tables like we have here, and these pivot tables are used for each of these charts. For example, we have bar charts for products, so we are using this table for that purpose. Also we have pie chart for category, so we are using this table. And for KPIs we also have these 3 metrics. Okay, perfect. Now that we know that, we can proceed to creating pivot tables. So let's first create new sheet. If I click on this, I will be able to create new sheet. Perfect. Now here we will place our pivot tables. So let's start with the first one. First, I will create this ship mode pivot table and let's see how can we do that. I'm gonna go to this data source. I will need to highlight all this data that I have in this data source. So how can I do that? I'm gonna press Ctrl A. It's simple as that. So you just need to click on any cell and just press Ctrl A. Now let's go to this insert tab and let's click on this pivot table. Now we have this pivot table box here. And also we will need to provide 2 values here. First is our data range. Because I already selected all values, it's already completed. Let's proceed to next one. Next one is location. So do you want to place your pivot table in new worksheet or this existing one? Let's click on this existing worksheet. Okay, perfect. And now we need to provide cell. So let's go to pivot 2. Let's provide this cell for example. Okay, perfect. Let's click on OK. And we have this pivot table box here. Now this is not our pivot table, so we will need to provide some values to get our pivot table. Here on this right hand side, you will be able to see our columns. As I said, I will be using ship mode, so I will put that in rows. And if you check our pivot table, we will be able to see different ship modes. Okay, perfect. Now as I said, in this dashboard I would like to present sales, so let's find sales column. And here is our sales column. I'm gonna place this column here in this values box. And that way I will be able to see sales for each of these ship modes. That's exactly what we want to see. Perfect. Now let's quickly format this table. Great. Now we have our first pivot table completed. Let's complete one more. Let's go to pivot sheet and let's create pivot table for region. Okay, how can I do that? I will simply copy this pivot table. I'm gonna paste it here. To copy this table, just select whole table and press Ctrl C, then Ctrl V, and basically that's it. In this second pivot table, instead of ship mode, I would like to provide the region. So let's provide the region and let's remove ship mode. And now we have our second pivot table. I'm gonna quickly create all other pivot tables, but before that, let me first create one more. If I go to this pivot section, here we have top 10 customers. But how can we see only first 10? Basically, if I copy this table, let's do that. If I paste it here, Okay, let's first remove that slicer that we have on our dashboard. Remove that, and also I'm gonna remove that. Okay, perfect. Now let's go back to our pivot sheet. And now let's see our table. Here we have this customer name. In this rows section, I'm gonna remove that. As you can see, now we only have sales. And now, for example, let's put this city column here. Okay, perfect. Now let's see how many cities we have. We have a lot of them, as you can see. Let's say I would like to see only first 10 again. So how can I do that? I can first click on this sales column. Then again, let's go to data, sort descending. And now I'm gonna choose only first 10. How can I do that? If I click on this button here, if I go to this value filters, you will be able to find top 10 option here. If I click on that, I will be able to see bottom or top. So this time we will use top. And also you can provide number. In this case I'm gonna pick 10, but you can also put 5, 6, whatever you want basically. Okay, items by sum of sales, so that's perfect. If I click on OK, I will be able to see only first 10 cities. Okay, great. Now I'm gonna quickly create all other pivot tables. Okay, great. Now we have our pivot tables completed. We need to complete one more thing before we start creating our dashboard. I need to provide values for those KPIs, for sales, profit and orders. Here we will not be using pivot tables. Instead of that, simply we will use sum functions. So let's see how can we do that. Type equal sum, and then I will sum all values from sales column. So let's go to data source, let's find sales column, and let's click here, press enter, and basically we have our first value. Let's do the same for profit. Type equal sum, let's go to data source, profit, enter. Perfect. Let's do the same for orders. Sum, data source, quantity. Excellent. Now we have our KPIs. With that completed, we can proceed to creating our dashboard. Finally, it's time to start creating our dashboard. For that purpose, I created new sheet. Let's go to the sheet. Let's click on this dashboard too. And here we will be creating our dashboard. First, let me create my background. For that, I'm gonna first select all cells that I would like to change. And then for this color, let's put that to be black. Okay, perfect. Now I would like to add two lines in this dashboard. Here I will add first line. So let's select those cells. And let's click on this color. Let's pick, for example, this one. This one is perfect. Let's do the same for this row here. Let's click on that color and perfect. Next, I would like to insert few images in this dashboard. So let's click on insert, pictures, this device. Let's find desktop, and here are my images. This one, and basically that's it. Perfect. Here I will put the first one. Excellent. Let's copy that. Ctrl C, Ctrl V. And then let's place this second one here. For this one, I'm gonna place it right here on this right hand side. Excellent, now we have our images. Next, I would like to insert title to this dashboard. So let's go to insert, find text box, and then place it here on your dashboard. Now let's type sales dashboard. Now what I can do, first I can align this. Let's do it like that. And then I can choose different font style. Let's use this one. And let's change this font size. It will be 48. I think this should be enough. Let me resize this. So I'm gonna resize this one. Okay, perfect. Now what I want to do, I need to remove this background. To do that, let's go to this shape format, shape fill, no fill. For this shape outline, let's also click no outline. And now we need to change font color. Let's click on this button here, and then I'm gonna choose, let's try with this one. Maybe this is too dark. Let's try with, for example, this one. This is perfect. Now I would like to insert KPI cards. How can I do that? I can also insert text box. Let's click on insert, text box, place it here, and here let's type equal, And then let's go to this pivot to sheet and let's choose our value. Press enter and we are able to see our first KPI. Now we need to modify this KPI card. Let's first change this alignment and also this one. Excellent. Let's change this font. Okay, I will use this one. Let's change that color. And I'm gonna make it bold. Or actually, I'm gonna change color to white, but I'm gonna change this to, let's try with, for example, this one. Okay, this is nice. Maybe I can even leave this border around this KPI card. It looks nice, so I'm gonna do that. Now let's create two more KPI cards. Let's copy this one. Let's paste it here, for example. And let's copy that one more time. And let's place it, for example, here. Excellent. Now it's time to choose proper values for this one. Instead of this cell, let me use profit. Great. And for this one, instead of this cell, let me use this one. Perfect. Let me now copy this style, paste it here, and let's do the same for the third one. Excellent. Now we have our KPI cards. We also need to add two slicers to complete this first part of this dashboard. To do that, let's go to pivot sheet. Let's click on any pivot table. Now you have two options. You can go to insert and then click on this slicer button, and also you can click on this pivot table analyze, and also you can add slicer here. And now we can choose one column. Based on this column, we will be able to filter our data. So for example, if I click on this city, we will be able to click on any city and to see sales in all visuals only related to that city. But instead of city, let's click on this segment. Click on OK. And now we have our first slicer. As you can see, this slicer is not default. If you create your first slicer, you will be able to see something like this. But to be able to see slicer like this, you will be able to change few things. So if you have this default option, for example, you can click on this slicer settings, and first you can remove your header, for example. If you uncheck this display header, if you click on OK, you will be able to see that you successfully removed that header. You can also resize this slicer, and basically you can choose any color that you would like to see. I'm gonna choose this one, and how you can change that, if you go over this slicer and then right click, modify, you will be able to change colors for each of these items. So for example, let's see this selected item with data. If I click on that, format, I will be able to change font, border, fill, and so on. But in this case, I already have this created. So how can you create a new slicer template? If you click on that button here, you can click on this new slicer style and you can create your own slicer style. Okay, perfect. Now let me copy this one. And let's paste it here. Okay, great. If I click on this, I will be able to see those nice colors that I have. Also, I'm gonna add one more slicer. Let's go back to pivot to sheet. Let's click on any pivot table, then pivot table analyze and insert slicer. This time, let's try with this category. Okay. Let me resize this. I'm gonna also remove this header. So let's go to slicer settings, uncheck this header option, click on OK, and basically that's it. Now let's copy this one and let's also move it to our dashboard. Excellent. I'm gonna place it here. And now we have our slicers completed. Excellent. We can proceed to main part of this dashboard. It will be our charts and pivot tables. So let's first create two pivot tables. Let's check this original dashboard. As you can see, first will be state and then region. Let's see if we have those pivot tables in this pivot sheet. We don't have state, but we have a region. So basically I can copy this pivot table, Ctrl C, and then go back to dashboard 2 and I can paste it, for example, here. Excellent. Now I'm gonna need to modify this pivot table, but before that let me add first pivot table here. Let's go to pivot 2 and I'm gonna For example, copy this pivot table, paste it here, and from this one I'm gonna create a pivot table that contains sales data for each of these states. So let's find state column, place it here instead of category. I'm gonna remove category, and we have all these states. But now if you check this dashboard that I have, we are able to see only 10 states. So I'm gonna need to use that top 10 function. Let's go to pivot 2. Let's find our table, and let's click on this button here. Value filters, top 10. Everything is okay here. Sum of sales, items, that's perfect. And now we have our table completed. Now I can copy this pivot table and I can paste it here. Excellent. Now we have those two pivot tables. Now we need to modify them. Let's select both of these. For this font color, let me try with something like this. Or maybe it's too dark. Let me click on, for example, this one. I'm gonna make this bold. Let's change this column name, sales, and also for this one, sales, perfect. This one will be instead of subcategory, let's provide state, perfect. And this one will be region. Now I need to remove this background. Okay, that's perfect. Let's do the same for this one. Okay, this is excellent. We have those two pivot tables completed. Let's proceed to our charts. Let's go back to this pivot 2. Okay, perfect. And then first we will create donut chart. Let's click on this category. So we will be using category values for this first chart. Let's click on that pivot table and let's go to pivot table analyze. Let's click on pivot chart and let's find pie section and let's click on this donut chart. Click on OK. And we have our first donut chart completed. As you can see, we only have one metric here, so let's reset those slicers. And let's do the same for this one. Now we should be able to see those values, which is correct. And now we have proper data in this chart. Okay, perfect. In the next one, we will present sales for each of these regions. So let's use a region. Let's click on this pivot table. And then let's click on this pivot table analyze. And then pivot chart. Again, we will go to this pie section, and this time instead of donut, we will be using pie. Let's click on OK, and we have this second chart completed. Let's add it here, and let's proceed to the third one. Third one will be ship mode. So let's use this pivot table here. Pivot table analyze, pivot chart, pie. Let's use this one. OK. It's very simple, as you can see. We already created those three charts. Next one will be bar chart. So in this chart we will present different products. So let's click on this products table and then pivot table analyze, pivot chart. This time instead of pie, let's find bar. As you can see, this bar chart is presented different ways. So let's use this column chart. Let's use this one. Let's click on OK. And we have this column chart. And the last one will be dedicated to our customers. So we will create visual with top 10 customers. This is our table for customers. Let's go to pivot table analyze, pivot chart, and this time let's use line chart. Let's use this simple one. Let's click on OK. And we have all charts that we need for our dashboard. So let's copy all of them. I'm gonna paste them here. Okay, perfect. Now we need to modify these charts. First, let me resize all of them. Now it's time to change background color. To do that, let's go to this shape fill option and let's click on this no fill. Okay, perfect. Also, if I click on this shape outline, I can click on this no outline. Excellent. Let me also click on this one. Let's change also this. I'm gonna remove that outline. That's excellent. And now let me change one more thing. Instead of this color, Let me put this one, for example. It will be better. Perfect. Now let's modify all other charts. Now that I completed all these modifications, it's time to place our charts on proper locations. So let's do that now. Now this dashboard is completed. Now I would like to check how those slicers work. So let me choose one of these categories. Let's choose corporate, for example. And when I choose that, basically it's working perfect. As you can see, it's applied on all these charts here. Let's try with this one. It's also the same. But on your side, when you create this dashboard, you may have some issues. If you try to choose any of these categories, and when you choose that it's not applied on your visuals, then you need to fix one thing. When you click on your slicer, you will have this slicer option here. When you click on that, you will be able to see this report connections. If you don't have all these checked, you will not be able to filter all these visuals. So you need to have all these checked. If I uncheck some of these, if I click on OK, let me try to filter. Now if I click on any of these, I will not be able to filter any of these visuals. For this one, it's still working. But for this one, I'm not able to do anything because I removed connections between slicer and this chart here. Not specifically this one, but all of these here. So let's click on report connection and make sure to check all of these. Maybe I missed something. Yes, one of these. Okay, perfect. And now when I click on this, I will be able to filter my data again. Okay, perfect. Now we can see that those slicers are working as expected. So with this, our dashboard is completed. Let me just fix this. Okay, great. As I said, this dashboard is now completed. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching.